During the Euro 2024 tournament, one participating country attracted special attention. The interest in this country wasn't just because of their exciting, passionate, and fiery playing style, but also because their players often have names ending with Y like VY Lee, or with E like Laksa. Moreover, this country's name is written one way but pronounced another, that is Georgia. Georgia or Georgia, which pronunciation is correct? And is this country related to the US state of Georgia? This state has the famous city of Atlanta, which once hosted Yo. Welcome to today's story with commentator Haitan Story. First, we need to know where Georgia is located. Although participating in Euro, Georgia isn't entirely in Europe. This is a country in the Caucasus region, situated on the border between Western Asia and Eastern Europe. It borders the Black Sea to the west, Russia to the north, Turkey and Armenia to the south, and Azerbaijan to the southeast. Georgia is a mountainous country. This country has more European than Asian characteristics. But where does the border between Europe and Asia begin and end? Because continental boundaries can be defined both politically and geographically, not just purely geographically. Remember, Europe and Asia are both part of the same continent. In the Caucasus region, a hot spot for border disputes, which has experienced centuries of imperial conquests, has very unclear boundaries between Asia and Europe. Therefore, Georgia is considered a country located in both continents, Asia and Europe. You can see that Georgian players have European features, but also somewhat Asian characteristics. Recently, Georgia was part of the Soviet Union until 1991. In the following decades, Georgia experienced many internal conflicts. Secessionist wars in Abkhazia and South Ossetia, regions that remain tense, along with domestic economic crises. After the bloodless Rose Revolution in 2003, Georgia pursued a strong pro-Western foreign policy, with Russia as its main rival at this time. Georgia aims to develop a European direction and will join NATO in the future. They also implemented many democratic and economic reforms with varying results, but also helped strengthen the Georgian state. Now let's get to the main part of the story. What is the official name of this country? Georgia as you hear it, or Georgia as written in English? Actually, in the country itself, they don't call it Georgia or Georgia, but call their country Sakartvelo. Sakartvelo means the land of the Kartveli people. And the Kartveli people are the indigenous inhabitants of the country we're talking about. Georgia is their English name. Some believe Georgia was named after the Christian Saint George. This is the main religion of this country. But other opinions suggest Georgia might originate from the name for wolves, because in Old Persian, Georgia was understood as the land of wolves. Thus, we have two very different names. The indigenous name is Sakartvelo, and the English name is Georgia, as we commonly see in red. So why do we call this country Georgia in Vietnam? Because in Vietnam, we use the name derived from Russian transliteration. This country was once part of the Soviet Union, and the influence of the Soviet Union and Russian language on Vietnam has been clear in the past. There was a period when learning Russian was very, and many proper names of countries were also transliterated according to Russian, instead of being read according to English. From there, the name Georgia appeared and became familiar to Vietnamese people. Another example is a very famous country, also read according to Russian transliteration, although the English spelling and pronunciation are not like that, which is Ukraine. Thus, if read and written in the English style, the name Georgia is identical to the name of the state of Georgia in America. Now let's compare these two geographical units. The country of Georgia has an area of about 70,000 square kilometers, while the US state of Georgia has an area of nearly 154,000 square kilometers. The state of Georgia has an area twice as large as the country of Georgia. That's about area, now about population. Georgia's population is quite modest, about 3.7 million people, only equivalent to the population of Commonwealth province. Meanwhile, the population of the U.S. state of Georgia is 10.8 million people. The population of the state of Georgia is 3 times higher than that of the country of Georgia. Differences in area, differences in population. The economic disparity is even greater. The GDP of the country of Georgia is about 19 billion United States dollars, and the per capita GDP is about 5,100 United States dollars. Meanwhile, if the U.S. state of Georgia were separated as a country, it would have a GDP of about 600 billion United States dollars and a per capita GDP. Thus, the total GDP of the state of Georgia is much higher than that of the country of Georgia, about 30 times higher than the per capita GDP, meaning the average annual income. But the state of Georgia is also significantly higher, about 11 times higher. In summary, the two geographical units have identical pronunciation and spelling in English but are very different. In terms of area, the state of Georgia is twice as large as. In terms of population, the state of Georgia is about 3 times larger. In terms of economy, the total GDP and per capita GDP of the state are also many times higher than Georgia. Because the U.S. state of Georgia is one of the economically strong states of this country, while Georgia is only a small country with a developing economy. Let's also find out why it. This state was named after a very famous figure, King George II of England. The state was established in the early 18th century, during the British colonial period. The name Georgia was given to honor the king who ruled England from 1727 to 1760. He was the one who approved the charter to establish this colony. Georgia was the 13th colony, the last of the original 13 British colonies in North America. Naming the colony after the reigning king was a way to express respect and loyalty to the British royal family. This was a common practice during that period. After gaining independence from Britain in 1783, Georgia became one of the first states of the United States of America. Today, Georgia is one of the large and important states in America's economy and culture. Let's explore some interesting facts about the country of Georgia. First is their national flag. The Georgian flag has a white background with red crosses. Red symbolizes war. White symbolizes hope and future aspirations. The current flag, although used for many centuries, was only officially adopted in 2004. An interesting fact is that there are about 30 countries in the world that use flags with crosses. However, no flag has as many crosses as the Georgian flag, with 5 crosses, 1 large in the center and 4 small ones in the corners. Do you know who the most famous person born in Georgia is? It's Stalin, the former leader of the Soviet Union. The town of Gori, located in central Georgia, is where the complex story of Stalin, one of the most famous figures in world history, begins. He was born in 1878 with a birth name Joseph Vissarionis Bce Chugashvili and grew up in a poor family. His father, Vissarion Chugashvili, was a shoemaker and often drunk, while his mother, Kiki Jaladze, was a strong woman and the family's pillar. In his youth, he called himself Koba, after a Georgian folk hero, showing his admiration for this hero. As a Georgian, Stalin spoke his native language from childhood and only started learning Russian when he was 8 or 9 years old. Later, he chose the nickname Stalin during his early revolutionary years. In Russian, meaning this was also an important quality in the image he wanted to build, a tough and powerful leader. In Vietnam, there was a time when Stalin was transliterated as Sit Talon, and this term was quite popular. How lovely, hearing my child speak. The first word uttered was Sit Talon. Today, Gori preserves many memories of Stalin. The Stalin Museum in Gori, his hometown, is a famous attraction, drawing thousands of visitors each year. The museum displays many artifacts from Stalin's childhood, from family photos to his study desk and books he read. Part of the museum includes the small wooden house where Stalin was born and raised. Georgians may not like Russians, but they still greatly respect Stalin. LL notice some Georgian surnames ending with suffixes like Billy, son of Ivan, Billy. Meanwhile, surnames ending with PZE are typically prevalent in Eastern Georgia. For example, Kaladze is a former football player who also entered politics. The Georgian language has many unique features, influenced by Greek and Persian, and is one of the oldest languages in the world. Georgian has its own alphabet with 33 characters, and it does not use gender or capital letters. The language has also changed little throughout its long history. It is said that Georgian children today can still easily read texts from the 15th century, as they have no difficulty understanding archaic words, thanks to the well-preserved language, similar to Vietnamese children reading texts from the Leloy era and still understanding them. In sports, weightlifting and wrestling, which require muscular strength, are very popular in Georgia. In football, until the 1990s, Georgian players still competed under the Soviet national team. After separating from the Soviet Union, Georgian football hardly developed. It is a small country with little potential and a very poor economy at the time. Poverty, backwardness, and domestic instability made Georgian football almost unknown on the world map. Except for one figure sometimes mentioned, Kaladze, the Georgian goalkeeper who played for AC Milan. Georgian football once hit rock bottom, falling to 150th place in the world rankings. The 150th position 7 to 8 years ago was equivalent to the Vietnamese national team at that time, or even lower. This shows how dramatically Georgian football has transformed. Euro 2024 is the first major football tournament in Georgian history since independence. And Kavicha Kvaratskhelia is the star player of the Georgian national football team, who won Serie A with Napoli. Thank you for following the story about the country of Georgia, or in English, Georgia. Georgians do not call their country that, they call it Sakartvelo. If you found it interesting, you can subscribe to the Hidden Ledger channel, turn on notifications, and share. Now, it's time to say goodbye. Feel free to leave feedback and see you next time.